You're listening to The Betty Howls Show here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM. And I have with me in the studio today two famous individuals from the Thunder Bay area. One of them has been here before.
Hello.
Hello, Laura.
Hi.
And one who has never been here before, Elizabeth.
Current art exhibition. Liz and myself both have solo shows up at Definitely Spirit Art Gallery. Mm-hmm. And we just went through, I'd say, a crazy past year trying to complete these works, and it's been a really important success for us.
And Elizabeth?
Yeah, hi, my name is Elizabeth Buset, and I'm an artist and educator in the city. And I just moved back to Thunder Bay about 6 months ago, so this is my first solo show back in the city. So, really excited about it.
Did both of you go to Lakehead University through the fine arts?
Yeah, both of us did our undergrads there.
That's how we met.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. So at the same time, too?
Yeah, Laura's a year ahead of me, and I was fortunate enough to have her teach me some pronto printing, so that was awesome.
I forgot about that.
That sparked the friendship.
Nice.
What's pronto printing?
It's this new sort of digitalized printmaking technique.
Mm-hmm.
It's you sort of use a printer and you with the ink, and that's the process of it. So
Interesting. So it was a way to break the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, we were kind of a natural. We would get along anyway. I sought out the friendship as soon as we had that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Interesting. So you just came back from, where were you living?
I just did my Master's of Fine Art in Helsinki, Finland. So
Oh,
I was there for the last
wow.
2 years. Yeah.
That must have been a really interesting experience.
It was amazing. Definitely the life-changing experience that I wanted. So it was good. Yeah, even the bad was good, and the good was great. So
Helsinki has the world's best art school.
Really?
Right, Aalto University.
I would say it's up there. Why I liked it and why I really want to go is because it's a political focus art school. So that was really good. And it's a very small amount of students that are accepted. So it was 5 foreigners and 5 Finnish kids. So it was really intimate, and that was really great. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That is really small amount of people together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So did you know Finn? Were you able to?
Definitely not. And I still don't know. I can order at the Hoito, and that's about it. So.
Okay. So the people that were in school with you had like English.
Yeah, the way that they structure it is all the master's programs in all of Finland are in English.
Okay.
So only the undergrads you have to know Finn for.
So was that a place that you really wanted to go to do your master's?
At first I wasn't sure, but once I found out, it was political focus. Absolutely. Yeah, I was sold.
So what's the difference with a political focus for people that don't know?
I would say some of the other schools might focus more on theory-based or aesthetic or technical aspects of art. So this school's main focus was what's the role of the artist in society? How does the art shape society? Why do we need art? What does it contribute? So
That's interesting. It would make you a really great educator, I think.
I'm trying. I don't know about that. But it was definitely informative, and it's been really impactful on the work. So
It really translates in her work, too, though. You can see that at the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So both of you have art in separate galleries. There's a third artist that's not here, Jean Marshal, who's out of town right now. And did you want to each talk about what your art is about that's up, and how it came to be? What led you to create that particular group?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I started out with an application for a grant because you can't really get much done without a little bit of assistance. So I had help from the Ontario Arts Council and rented a studio. But my main focus was kind of exploring my roots in Finland. So like this show is a natural fit, having the two of us in, coinciding galleries. But I wanted to look into my roots and see where my family came from, and found out with the first part of my work and a lot of research actually in the Lakehead University Library, and in above the Hoito there in the Finlandia, they have a little museum. So I did a lot of research and found that my family came in like 1901, and it was my great-great-grandmother, Ina Weiland, who I kind of focused on with the pieces.
And so you found out history, and then how did that develop into pieces of art?
Well, I really felt drawn to textile work and traditional Finnish, like kind of folk tales and stories from the Kalevala. I didn't say that word right, Liz. How do you say it?
Kalevala, isn't it?
Kalevala. Kalevala. That's how you say it.
Kalevala, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I took a look at some of the histories, and then that kind of blossomed in the work, as well as textile patterning and personal relationships with Finland. So
Okay.
little things like clothing I wore when I was young, or one of the main ones is a cabin I grew up going to when I was a really little girl, not knowing, why it was an important part of the family, but it was built by my great-great-grandparents when they moved here on Dog River.
Okay.
So I went and did photo shoots and got to appreciate, the craftsmanship of the building of the cabin. And my grandmother made rugs, and I just had all these memories come back when I did the research. So
Interesting. I noticed a lot that there's, from the small amounts that I've seen, because I haven't seen all of it yet, but there's a lot of women in your pictures.
Yep.
Is that because of your grandma being the focus?
Yep,
Or
yeah.
great-grandma?
Yeah, it started out with my great-great-grandmother Ina, and then her son married the woman Fanny Weiland, my great-grandma, and that's who I was closest to as I grew up. So I kind of used a lot of women in each of the paintings. So there's myself. There's about 4 generations of my family in there, and I focused on the women in it.
That's amazing. So you worked with textiles, so they're paintings.
Oh, yeah, I should explain kind of what it looks like. Okay, so there's 8 really large-scale works, and I used old, found maps. So they're the classic pull-down maps that you'd see in a classroom many years back.
Okay.
And so that kind of created the background for them. And then from there, I did a lot of layering and a lot of mixed media. So the pieces are actually kind of like 3-dimensional drawings and paintings, kind of like a shallow diorama. So if you walk by it, you'll see parts of it move.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Maybe we should take a little break.
Sure.
I'll put on a little song, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about your art.
Great.
So I have ready, I believe, because we saw her together, it made me think of Julie Doiron.
Yeah.
I think it's By the Lake I have ready, so I'm going to put that on. Hopefully I'm putting on the right song right now. So let's check this out. You're listening to The Betty Howls Show here on CILU Radio, 102.7 FM.
By the lake, there's a rock, and it lets me lie on top. Oh, oh. Warm from the sun and cooled by the wind, and the water, it sings to me. And by the lake, there are trees, and they let me sit beneath. Oh, oh. Warm from the sun and cooled by the wind, and the trees, they sing to me. And by the lake, there's a lawn, and it lets me kneel upon. Oh, oh. Warm from the sun and cooled by the wind, and the grass, yeah, it sings to me. And in the house, there's a bed, and it lets me rest my head. Oh, oh. Warm from a man with heart in hands, and he lets me him.
And you just heard from Julie Doiron with By the Lake off of her most recent album, So Many Days. And when she was in town, she stayed with you, right, Laura?
Yeah, she did. We had fun.
What kind of experience was that? That would be kind of...
We drank wine, we chit-chatted. She was like a best friend that you've known forever.
Wow.
She was really casual. It was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm hoping eventually, if she ever comes back to Thunder Bay, because it was 10 years in between times, maybe I can interview her. And
Yeah, well, she seemed to be really active lately, so...
So right before Julie Doiron, we were here in the studio with two guests, Laura and Elizabeth, who both have their art up in solo gallery exhibitions at Definitely Superior Art Gallery. In the third gallery, there is another woman, Jean Marshal, who's not here. Just want to make sure everybody knows all the three women that are up on the walls at Definitely Superior. Is that a first time ever, or has it happened before?
Oh, no. Yeah, the gallery's definitely had 3 shows with women before, but this was, I think, really special because the 3 of us are all like in a little bit emerging part of our careers, and we all know each other for many years now. And also interesting is that I don't know, I can't speak for them, but I've always admired them, you know, as artists and the work that they do. And so it was like a really great honor to have that pairing happen. And like you can really spend a long time looking at Jean's work and looking at Liz's work, which is like super special because sometimes you can go through exhibitions and you get it right away and you're walking through and you're like, oh, I understand this. But there's a lot of content and there's a lot of heart. And like with Jean's work, she really... you know, she's focused on her family's history as well.
Yes.
And the technical skills, the other thing, to pair that much content with this much technical skill is it's rare. Usually artists are like kind of one or the other, it seems. Just amazing.
Yeah, I think we all really balance each other out. It was, it's a really nice collection, I think.
So, Elizabeth, do you want to talk about where this group of art came from? What inspired you?
Yeah. Okay. So 3 of the 4 paintings. Oh, well, I guess I should talk about the show. Yeah. So the show consists of 4 paintings, and they're large-scale oil on canvas paintings, and they're done in like a photorealistic technique. So I do high realism. So if I was to paint flowers, they look exactly like flowers. They're not interpretations. They're bang on, so you can't really tell if they're a photo, if they're a painting. Okay. And so this is a technique I've been doing for a few years now. And when I was away, this was the focus of my master's. I was just trying to justify, I guess, more to myself why I thought high realism was still a relevant art form today, right? It made sense 500 years ago when we didn't have photographic technologies. But now that we do, I mean, if you can Photoshop all this stuff, or you can take a photograph or film it, why still do high realism? So that was sort of the starting point for the thesis. And then, I started doing research into when high realism really emerged, and that was around the Golden Era in the Dutch. So it was, that's called the Golden Age of painting. So that's where...
The Golden Era, when would that begin for people who may not know?
It's around the 17th century. So it's when Holland really emerges as a lead colony for trade. And there's a huge influx of wealth and commerce, and because of their trading ports, they get a lot of rare and precious goods coming in, and that's when the still life painting is really born. Yeah, so that's when the genre emerges, and that's...
Who are some maybe artists from that time period that people might know to know what it looks like from that historical point forward?
Yeah, William Koff is one that I really liked and gravitated to. Rachel Rouge, she was a famous female flower painter that was a court painter. William de Hem, he was another one. And these are just these really luscious, over-the-top still lifes. So lobsters, gilded plates, peacock feathers, ornamental tapestries, like just really out there. And they're just... they're works that just show the wealth that was emerging. It was also because of Calvinism happening in the Dutch. They're not spending money on religious artworks, so it becomes more of this is a way to showcase the personal wealth is these still life paintings. So anyway, so that's where I started looking at, and so I sort of perceive my work as part of that still life genre.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the paintings actually of?
Yeah. Okay, so one of them is a huge bouquet of yellow roses, but they're wrapped up in plastic, so you can't really appreciate the actual blossoms because they're sort of smothered in plastic. Another one is a recently castrated dog that has a cone around its head that prevents you from seeing its face. Another one is a large jigsaw puzzle. It's 750 pieces, and it's all scrambled. So again, you look at it, but you can't really see the final puzzle image.
So you said these are large scale. So give us an idea of how large, like how big are the actual canvases, so people have an idea of the scale of the work.
They consume you. They're very big.
Yeah, they are. They're about 3 meters. Is almost the biggest one. So yeah, so 3 by 1.5 meters. Yeah.
And why do you like working in large scale?
Yeah, it's kind of I've always really liked sort of pop art for doing that in the 60s, and this idea of commercialization. They're almost like billboards. And for me, because I'm painting everyday objects, when they're blown up to that scale, they sort of lose their utilitarian purpose. So you maybe if the roses were to scale, you just consider them roses, but when they're bigger than your body, they become these really interesting symbols and icons.
Interesting. So you both have major different perceptions going on in your art. There's a lot of history in both of your art, but coming from a very different place and different style. It's really kind of fascinating. And both of you are volunteers at Definitely Superior. Oh, and you're an employee, Laura. Yeah, staff.
Liz is pre-board member too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you both become involved at that art gallery? And what drew you to this place?
Well, I guess I was in high school. They kind of kidnapped me. I was just really into, alternative culture and zines, DIY. And so I started working with them on youth zines and submitting art. And then I started organizing shows a bit with them. Urban Infill was a big one for me. Did my internship there when I was in university, and then got hired right after I graduated. So.
Internship in university in fine art? I've never heard of that.
You have to, yeah.
Oh, really?
Final year, yeah.
Oh, interesting. So do you basically work for free? Is that an internship?
Yeah, well, if you work for an artist on center, you kind of already work for free. No, it's just like the arts, it's so challenging. It is, but I don't know, I got a lot out of it, and I stuck around. So I love what I do.
Well, and now you lead the youth group.
Yeah, and Liz is also a member of Diactive Art Collective, so she was there for the first year and really helped build it up and worked with the younger artists to learn how to paint on the walls and stuff. So
great, that's interesting.
I'm still a rookie at it though. I got a lot to learn.
Yeah, same here. I keep growing.
How does it feel different from painting on a canvas to painting on a wall?
Well, when I paint on the canvas, I'm really interested in creating heirlooms that I think are going to last. But I love the temporariness of graffiti art and the fact that it's precious, but it's going to disappear, and that's the nature of it. So in a way, it's really good to deflate, the ego and put you back on the ground. So it's nice to know it's going to get destroyed. I like that.
Well, and I think that makes you appreciate the transient nature of street art a bit more. Like most people may not recognize street art for being art, I think. Yeah. And once they realize that it can be layers upon layers, I think that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah. It's nice to do it as an artist too. If you get to do a graffiti piece, you get to branch off from what you're doing in your studio practice. So it's freeing. You can really choose whatever, bizarre thing is interesting you at the moment. And you also get to think about a larger audience for your work too. So you can really take that chance to be, courageous or, just really different. So I like that about it.
And I love what it does to the city and the downtown. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to walk down the alley.
The Cook Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
And see that when it's something that usually you'd see on TV and in Toronto on
we
a
see
TV
it pop
show.
up now on everybody's photos and backs of magazines and stuff. And people should check it out too. It's the whole back alley behind the Sovereign Room and the Foundry. So that whole laneway is packed with about 30 different Diactive artists.
Yeah, I'll be ready for a Rick Mercer rant one of these days.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you always see Rick Mercer walking down that graffiti alley, and I guess it must be Toronto.
Yeah.
And I've been watching Lost Girl. Do you guys know that TV show?
Heard of it.
It was I think it's shot mainly in Brampton, but it's a Canadian TV show, and there is a lot of shots of them walking down graffiti alleys. And I have to wonder if they actually went to Toronto to shoot a few, just to kind of insert it into, because they're supposed to be centered in an American city. but
okay.
you know, you can tell it's a little bit Canadian because of all the trees and the snow and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's nice to see.
Yeah,
that.
the art really gets around when you do it like that. People use it on their album covers or whatever. It's lots of places.
Pretty fantastic. So you guys have your art up for another week or two?
Yeah, this is the last week. So February 15th is your last day to see it. That's next Saturday.
Okay. And you guys on the opening night, what was that like?
Busy. Yeah, there was a ton
Yeah.
of people. We packed the place. It was awesome. So
Alright.
yeah, no, it's really
one of
really
the
great.
gallery's biggest openings, I'd say. There's about 300 people, I think. And we've counted over 600 through the door now to visit the shows. So it's been really, I think, it's just been such a pleasure. So nice to share it.
I know for me, because I created the majority of the work in Helsinki, this was always the end goal, was to bring it here and show it. So it's been really satisfying. It feels like it's come full circle. So it's really nice.
So why don't we listen to one more song? We'll come back and chat a little bit longer. How does that sound, you guys?
Awesome.
Lovely.
Okay, so I have ready The Blow. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I have Pile of Gold.
Cool.
It's from Paper Television. So let's check that out here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM and The Betty Howls Show.
All the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls and the boys, you know they want it. They want all the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls and the boys, you know they want it. They want it, want it. Boys, we love you. Some of us don't, but plenty of us do. You should treat us good. Can you do that? And you know we're gonna share more of our goods with you. All the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls and the boys, you know they want it. They want all the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls and the boys, you know they want it. They want it, want it, want it, they want it. It's economic. They need the warmth that we export. Of course, some boys will try to force the prices down by pushing girls around. I've seen some do this. Learn to see through this. They get scared, so scared. Maybe we'll refuse to share with them. I'll join a massive static exodus. But tell them I know that you're brave enough and you could learn to save enough to make some free trade with me. All the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls and the boys, you know they want it. They want all the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls and the boys, you know they want it. They want it, want it. Boys, we love you. So stunned, playing to it. Treat us good. You know we're gonna share goods with you. Share goods with you. All the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls, the boys, you know they want it. They want all the girls are sitting on a pile of gold. All the girls, the boys, you know they want it. They want it, want it.
And that was, who was it? I didn't
The
write
Blow.
it. The Blow. There we go. I didn't write it down while I was chatting with you.
Gold something.
Pot of Gold off of Paper Television.
Piles of gold?
Piles of gold.
Piles of gold.
You are so right.
I'm not sure.
See, you've only been on the radio once before and you already got it down. So I have with me in the studio Laura and Elizabeth, who are 2/3 of the new exhibits that are up at Definitely Superior Art Gallery. They have one more week of their art being up on the walls, if you're just tuning into the Betty Howls Show. And so the opening night, did both of you talk about the inspiration for your art?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was terrifying. Well, it was just such a big crowd, and it's hard because your work has so much content, and you don't want to be like up there jabbering and, you know, being nonsensical. So you had to really narrow it down, and so yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, a little bit nerve-wracking for sure. But yeah, it's hard. You want to give some information, but you don't want to turn into this big lecture. So yeah, I got to keep it brief.
Yeah, so we just like really enjoyed getting to see a lot of the community come out, and people who, you know, I just didn't expect to see would come, and it was, I don't know, felt like a bride on her wedding day. Everybody was like lining up to talk to you. It was really, really cool.
Yeah,
That's neat.
yeah.
So even though it was slightly nerve-wracking having to do the public speaking aspect, it still was fantastic experience. You're in a vulnerable state when you're talking about your art in front of all these people.
Yeah, even just to hang it on the walls is pretty, it's, I don't know, emotional is not the right word, but you're really laying it out there. Especially if you haven't shown the works before at all and it's like a fresh new series. Usually there is a narrative or something connecting the work, so you want to say something really strong that sums it up.
I think one of the reasons why I gravitated more towards the visual arts is because, you just kind of put it in the gallery and you can walk away and people can have their own critique and you don't necessarily have to be around for it. Whereas with musicians or dancers, they get that immediate feedback from the audience. So, but at openings, you get that sense, right? Like you can hear people talking, you can hear the feedback. So luckily it was mostly positive, so I was really happy with that. But yeah, it's a little bit, when you create it in a studio by yourself, you're not really thinking about what the general public will think or how that will change your opinion of your own work. So it's interesting, yeah.
Well, and in a way, you shouldn't think about that, right? Because you're going to come from a place where you're inspired by something.
Yeah,
But then, like, the best success is when you have all of those, theories and thoughts going through your head when you're working, and then you present it and you're like, oh my God, they got it. Like, it really surprises me how many people can pick up the stories and they can source, why that's the title and what, and instead of just focusing on the technique or the materials used, and they are moved by it, or they feel like they've started to think about their family history, and that is amazing. Like, I've had a lot of people tell me that they feel like they're in Finland when they look at my works, which is like stunning, because I'm about to go to Finland for the first time in my whole life. I haven't even been there, so I was trying to be really careful when I was creating the works that they were coming from my experiences and not some sort of made up Finnish narrative. But I was lucky. I think it is that Thunder Bay is a mini Finland, and so I had an authentic expression come across, maybe.
Wow.
Hopefully, I mean, from the feedback.
No, from my experience there, I can definitely vouch that it really represents the culture very well. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
good.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when you guys were young, little kids, did you know that this is what you're going to be doing? Did you have any clue that this moment would be here?
I remember wanting to be the girl at the movie theater who rips the ticket stubs.
Yeah.
No, I always loved art, though.
ambitious.
It's like, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
Well, in your heart of hearts, when you're a little kid and you're thinking, eventually I want to do that. Not always be Wonder Woman, or, you know what I mean? That was my thing when I was 4, is I wanted to be Wonder Woman and have an invisible jet.
Right.
But there was also the idea of, for me, was like helping people was something really important to me. And I think now I have a job where I do that. So do you think that is something that's happened for you with being artists?
I can remember that. I can definitely remember wanting to do art more than anything else.
Yeah, I can remember it never being a chore to draw or paint or do anything like that, like really just enjoying it and coming to it naturally. But the idea of being like a professional artist and exhibiting and dealing with sort of all that process, that takes a while. That comes and goes. Yeah. Like some days I'm really for it, and some days I'm not, and some days I identify as an artist, and some days I don't. So it comes. It ebbs and flows.
Does the business side of it, do you like that part, or does it annoy you?
It's still new for me right now, so I can't judge it quite
bureaucracy is not that much fun. No, like it's just a lot of paperwork and grants. But I mean, it gets the job done, right? It gives you the funding and the support to make the work. So it's definitely necessary. So and I'm really grateful that we have such an amazing program and granting councils in Ontario and Canada. But it does. It eats up a lot of your time for sure. But it's okay. It's an ends to a means. So it's part of it.
Do you think, do you think that that's good that is there, so that perhaps someone who doesn't have the drive to complete the art isn't going to complete the funding? Or do you think that that's a deterrent from other artists who are too intimidated for that process to finish it and get their art made? What do you think about that?
That's a good
granting,
question.
I think that the granting system really brings the gems to the surface. So, like, if I can sum it up, I think that the hard workers, the talented thinkers, the innovators, they're writing the grants, and I've done jurying before for the OIC, and like you can you can pick them out really fast. Like, this person's passionate. They're going to do this regardless of the money because it means everything to them. And that's the great thing about the grants is like it gives you that opportunity to make it really happen. You already have the drive and passion. So
yeah, it definitely requires two skill sets. Like, one has to be, you know, your artistic process and that being strong, but then you do have to have the writing skills as well. And it's interesting if you can sort of marry both of them. But it is hard though too, because, you know, I'm kind of believe that some things can only be said in art too, and that they don't necessarily translate to the written word or to music or dance or something like that. So describing sort of that and trying to get that through in words can be challenging for sure.
Especially too, if, like, as an artist, you're happiest and you're like the most in your element when you're doing the work, you're doing the artwork. So it's really hard sometimes to set aside time in your day to do the business side of it because you're like, but I need to get the work done.
Do you think there's a huge disparity between when you finish school and then you move into the workforce and you're trying to find at least a job that has some creative nature behind it and realizing that you're not necessarily going to have everything that you wanted from school to work? And trying to find that balance so that you still have a satisfaction creating and still having to do like some business stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think that like being a professional practicing artist is really rare and difficult, and it depends where you live, depends what kind of work you're doing and how it lays out in the economy and how it lays out in the interests and the trends, which is really like irritating, but you kind of just do it anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people, I get that question now that I'm back. It's just like, oh, so are you selling your work or whatever? And it's not like trying to be a professional artist, like trying to be a professional actor. You know, like, it is difficult. You can get gigs here and there, but steady work every day with the huge payoff checks. I mean,
that's like
that's
celebrity.
a lifetime. Yeah, it's celebrity, right? And there's definitely art celebrities, right? The Damien Hirst and stuff of the world. But I think it's more of like, it just becomes an ideology. It becomes like how you live your life by. So it's the focus for me. Like, that's what I want to do at the end of the day, is to make art. And so I will take jobs that will afford me so I can make my art, and just trying to find the time so that it gets factored in.
Is that a phone?
Oh.
Yeah.
So do you think that there was kind of a jump, or did you know that right away you were going to have to do that? Like have a job that maybe would necessarily bring you to have time to do art? Or did it come through time?
When I was, I don't know, I'm kind of the wrong person to ask because I was so lucky. I had it kind of good because I started volunteering in art galleries, and I worked at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery for 9 years before I even, got into DefSup and stuff. So I really found that one job in the city that is kind of what I want, but,
Which is fantastic, because now we have this great leader for our youth.
Thank you. Yeah, but it was a challenge, like you have to find work that you love and hope that it pays enough. And in the arts, the jobs are far and few between.
Of the people that you guys went to school with, do you know that everybody is still creating?
Maybe. Usually it's a small percentage. It's like 2 out of 15, I think, usually from my
experience.
I think a lot of them are doing it, but maybe not at the exhibiting level. So like personally, they're going home, they're doing projects, but yeah, maybe not to the extent that it's getting out publicly.
But they're still doing it.
Yeah, probably.
Which is good.
Yeah,
a lot of people slide into doing like arts education too, which is totally fine. Like, as long as it's like getting you some money and allows you studio time after. I do a lot of arts education.
Well, and I know from when I went to university, I did a biology degree, then anthropology degree. And from the biology, the percentage of people that I knew that still continued was probably 10% or less. And then in anthropology, I can think of 2 people in my class that continued down that vein. A lot of them spun off into completely different things, teaching English in Japan. And so I just was curious whether that kind of was the same experience for you guys.
I also found too, like a lot of people that maybe started off with painting or printmaking transitioned into other mediums. They're doing jewelry making now or metal work or something like that. So I find that really interesting. Yeah.
Can I ask Liz a question?
Yes, you can.
I know it's kind of weird, but
No, it's not.
because Liz is also a teacher.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I wanted to know like how you find that impacting your creative process in any way, and do you?
I find maybe not impacting, but balancing it. So right now I'm with the Learning Through the Arts program. So I'm visiting classrooms from grades 1 to grades 4. And I just love it because when I'm with the kids, they remind me that art can be fun.
Yeah.
And it's not like this academic burden, right? And that you don't always have to like overthink it and find the greater, philosophy or overarching concept or whatever, right? So that's what I really appreciate, is that you can go in and they can be excited. And so I really like that. And it also, too, for some of them, they make it really personal and it becomes very self-reflective. And my work, I avoid that at all costs. Really? I don't do me in my work. I try to just go for more like universal symbols and stuff. So that lets me appreciate that aspect too. And I think that's really why I appreciate work by Lora and Jean too, is because it takes a lot of courage to be that personal in public. And hopefully someday I can get to that point. But right now it just doesn't work.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, showing something that's universal is a view that you have personally. So you are showing something of yourself. You probably just didn't realize it.
Yeah, maybe less biographical. Maybe that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm really grateful that you guys stopped by, and I know that I will get to the gallery this week because I only have one more week, so I have to see.
Yeah, gallery hours are Tuesday to Saturday, and it's 12 to 6, so lots of time.
So we have 7 more days.
Yeah.
A hot Valentine's Day date.
Well, it would be, right?
Yeah, please come.
I'll be working.
And sorry about my phone ringing.
That's all right. No worries. This is live. It's no big deal. Okay? So thanks for stopping by, and I hope that you still get lots more people viewing your work.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
You're welcome to come back anytime.
Cool.
Thank you.
I thought that I would end the interview with the song by Ponytail called Easy Peasy. Have you heard of them?
Don't think so.
Nope.
They're a little different, but fun.
Cool.
So I thought that kind of matches your art. It's each a little different, but still fun.
We try.
Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.